Not a brand new, but a relatively new law was passed with the Gaskin case. Could you tell us a little bit about that and maybe the implications for your advocacy with families affected by autism?
Well, Gaskin came out of a situation where parents were dissatisfied with how the services to their special needs children were being provided in this Philadelphia school district. And excuse me, and there was a settlement of the case. Actually, it was the Pennsylvania Department of Education who was a defendant. There was a settlement of the case, and out of that, there are monitoring programs whereby a panel was set up to make sure, to go around to the various school districts to make sure that they are implementing the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act properly and including special needs students in the general curriculum to the extent possible. That was one of the main focuses of the grievance that parents had. Special education students should be included to the fullest extent that they are, that's possible. Again, as some of the other panelists discussed, peer models for behavior, peer models for developing relationships, for developing skills is very important. And so the panel monitors school districts to make sure that the special needs students are being given that opportunity as they are entitled to.
Okay. We've talked over the time here with the various panelists about different settings, the inclusive setting and the segregated setting. Do you want to discuss the pros and cons of these as you see them?
Well, I can take one stab at that, and I think that as a result of as Zanetta was saying with Gaskins, there is a specific movement now toward inclusion of autistic students in the regular education curriculum as much as possible. Many times that has great benefits, not only for the autistic individual, but also for what we refer to as the neurotypical students in that classroom, who develop a sense of empathy and understanding and the appreciation of difference that they may not otherwise be able to experience. We've seen this taking place in some of the consultation that we've done with Green Tree Partnerships, which Tom can speak to. At the same time, there are some students who are not as responsive to being in a regular education setting with whatever level of accommodation that's made. And that's where places like Green Tree School step in and provide that specialized setting for those students so that they can still progress and develop and recoup those delays from early on.
One thing that you often hear said is children on the spectrum, particularly I would say children with Asperger's, just say that if you've met one child with Asperger's, you've met one child with Asperger's. It's very, very hard to generalize. And to know whether or not a fully inclusive general education placement or a totally separate special ed placement is the right one. Just by looking at the profile of a child isn't enough. You need to know the setting, what the parents' wishes are, what the skills of the educators are. It's got to be done on an individual basis. But when it can be done on a general education basis, I think Eric's point is well taken, that it helps everybody, particularly the kids who may never encounter a person with autism otherwise.
Yeah. Zanetta, may I return to you to talk about the services that perhaps you had to struggle for, the services that are provided for you now and for the family that would be most beneficial?
Well, I have to say that since we were connected to Green Tree School early on in the process, we did not have to struggle for a lot of services. The team there was, as I said, really great with respect to working with us and providing us with what we needed. Again, I know other parents who do not have the same experience, and I think that one of the biggest challenges that I've heard most often people have a difficult time receiving is the one-to-one services that an agency like Green Tree can provide, and that is a person who accompanies a student, sometimes for a short period of the day, sometimes for the entire day, to keep them on task, to give them maybe the prodding or the prompts that they need to attend to their academic work. And that is, I would say, one of the biggest services that people have a really hard time having access to.
Okay. Any advice for parents, Zanetta, along this process, particularly with the identification of a child? When did you start to suspect that your child may have autism? What things to look for?
Well, I actually did not suspect myself. My son had recurring ear infections from about the age of 18 months until about 2 years old. And it was not until he went to an evaluation for his hearing that the person who was evaluating him at that point mentioned that he was not engaging with them at the level that they were expecting for his age, and suggested another evaluation. And at first we were just given a diagnosis of some general developmental delays, and he was given speech therapy and some occupational therapy. It wasn't until about 2 years later that we received the diagnosis of autism, autistic spectrum disorder.
Okay.
So one of the things that may have been a red flag was the fact that his communication was not up to speed with a typical child at his age level. But he's an only child. He's the only child that we've had, and so we didn't really know exactly what else we should be looking for. But that was a big indicator, and as well as his interaction with other people. With us, he was very affectionate. He was interactive. He let us know what he needed. But with other people, he was a little bit different, and that was something that was a clue. And that's something that preschool teachers or daycare teachers can be aware of and keep an eye out for parents.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We have gotten such valuable information. I want to thank all the participants for sharing their experiences and expertise regarding autism. We hope you now have a greater understanding of this symbol and autism. God bless.